The main reason that Tusk Act 4 loses so much damage is that even if you land the first or second shot of nail shots, you aren't guaranteed the subsequent shots. If someone gets hit by the first or second shot and holds F, they'll block the next few. So when people are constantly telling me that they think that Tusk Act 4 needs a buff, I don't necessarily think it needs a buff. I think it just needs to be fixed.
Well, 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 would you look at that? So it looks like Tusk Act 4 finally got the justice it deserved, and honestly, I'm really happy with it. So happy with it that I felt like I should probably redo my review because frankly, a lot of things have changed, but a lot of things have stayed the same. Mostly just because I don't want to have a video out about this stand with just objectively wrong information throughout the entire thing. I might do the same thing with Star Platinum the World, but I feel like that hasn't changed quite enough, or at least not as much as Tusk Act 4 has, so I don't know if I will. But for right now, Tusk Act 4 definitely needs to get redone, so that's what we're here to do. And if you haven't even seen the first review, don't bother going to watch it, because the stand has changed. As for the changes themselves, I'm not going to talk about them at the start. I'll talk about them in strategies and in the conclusion. So with that, let's jump to the moveset straight away and look at all the things that are new. Tusk Act 4 has access to nail shots, which fires 3 nails in rapid succession that can be blocked, golden rectangle nail, which fires 1 nail that can't be blocked and knocks down, wormhole nails, which redirects any nails you've missed to the target that you're pointing at and automatically hits them, wormhole uppercut, which teleports you to the nearest opponent, hitting them, and if it connects and they don't block it, it teleports Tusk to them again and beats them up, ragdolling them, removing their stand, and doing a decent amount of damage. Nail glide, which gives you a lot of mobility options, as while you're gliding you can use any of your moves. Tea time, which I don't have because I don't really think it's worth getting unless you have a lot of extra points. And finally, Tusk's very own funny beatdown, which doesn't do a whole lot of damage, it can be perfect blocked, it's kind of slow to come out, but it has a giant hitbox and is quite difficult to miss. I tried to speed through this as fast as possible though, because most of you already know these moves and have probably seen this review before. So here's the skill tree I'm using. It's nothing outstanding, but it gets the job done. And once we're done with that, I'll hop over to strategies, and then we'll really get into the nitty gritty and talk about the changes and how you should use this now. Alright, so Tusk Act 4 has gained a lot from the changes, and the biggest thing is obviously what I addressed at the beginning, which is the nails actually work properly now. If you hit someone with the first nail, they can't just block the second 2, which means that your normal nail shots ability is a hell of a lot better than it was before. It's still not anything standout OP, but it's definitely a solid ability, and it's not just completely worthless anymore. When it comes to strategies, the mainstay strategy I talked about in my original Tusk review still stands. Using your wormhole nails first and then trying to hit them with a golden rectangle to knock down their block is what you'll be doing against most good players. But the thing is, with the new changes against bad players, this stand is brutal. The changes to the nail shots didn't just apply to your normal nail shots. No, they applied to the wormhole nails as well. This is a change that I was very skeptical of initially, and I'm still kind of skeptical about it, but you know what, I don't think it's that huge of a deal. Basically what I'm saying is if they get hit by one of your wormhole nails, then they get stunned for all of the rest of them. This is something that didn't used to be the case. What this means is that if you're fast enough on reaction, you can react to whether or not they block, and if they don't block, you can get a ton of damage by hitting them with nail shots and then a golden rectangle afterwards. What I'm saying is that you can combo your regular nail shots out of the wormhole nail shots. It's really good. If your opponent is actually smart and competent though, they'll block your normal nails and you'll have to go with the classic strategy of wormhole nails into golden rectangle, which is still a solid strategy, don't get me wrong. Outside of your regular nails, the new moves are kind of interesting, but I don't think that either of them are really that standout when it comes to strategy. At high level play, the wormhole uppercut is still basically worthless. If someone sees you using this move, they're just gonna block it, which is something I should have addressed earlier, but wormhole uppercut can't be perfect blocked anymore, but it doesn't block break and it is blockable. This makes it a way better move, but against good players, it's still never gonna get you any damage. One thing I did forget to mention about your wormhole nails is using these right as people stand up tends to be quite a good good strategy. Once again, this is kind of a new player's trap thing where good players will block this every time, but most people aren't good players. So if you use your wormhole nails as people are standing up, you can usually combo them, and now that they actually get stunned by it, if they do, you can barrage them while they don't have a stand. It's an incredibly powerful trait, and I don't see very many people making use of it. As for your nail glide, this is another thing that I think a lot of people sleep on. Nail glide is an incredibly powerful tool since you can use any moves while you're using it. My tendency is to try to use nail glide and use a zoom punch, because even if I whiff, I'm still going to be safe since it doesn't stop as long as I don't let go of nail glide. I see a lot of people using their normal nails while they're doing nail glide, and first of all, I don't really know how you aim that. I guess it would explain why they usually miss. And second of all, you could use anything, so using the projectiles that you can get away with normally, I just wouldn't do this. Throwing out your stuns while nail gliding is probably your best bet. Now I know what you all want me to talk about. You want me to talk about the funny beatdown, and I will talk about the funny beatdown, but I'm not going to talk about how I actually feel about it until we get to the conclusion. That's not what the strategies section is for after all. When it comes to when you should use your funny beatdown, well, I almost want to say never. If you get perfect blocked, you're probably going to get comboed, and the damage you get off of the beatdown is very negligible. Because mind you, it's very easy to perfect block this move. Speaking of perfect blocking this move, you can't get it off of a zoom punch. Neither can you with any of the other beatdowns now. This is a good change overall, but it does mean that getting this beatdown to land is a lot harder. If you're trying to land the beatdown, your best bets are when you're playing with teammates, so you can try to just hit someone while they're being barraged, or to mash it while you're being comboed, because a lot of the time people are going to be trying to extend their combo rather than defend against your beatdown. Other than this, I wouldn't go near the beatdown unless you're trying to style on your opponent, which is totally valid because the beatdown looks cool as hell. In closing the strategies section, one thing I will say is if you get a parry or a block break, always use your wormhole nails into nail shots. This will get you the most damage if you have them off of cooldown, so there's basically no reason not to do it. I've seen a lot of people doing clicks when they get parries, and you shouldn't really be doing that. I've also seen quite a few wormhole uppercuts when they get parries or block breaks, and that's also not really optimal. Just go for the nail shots, it'll get you the most damage. Anyways, that's it for here, so let's jump to the conclusion, and I'll talk about how I feel about all of this, the Tusk buffs, everything. Let's get there. So obviously it's no secret that I'm very happy with the Tusk changes, and honestly I think the funny thing is that the real thing that changes the stand-up isn't any of the new moves, it's the fix that I really wanted. So I feel a little bit vindicated that the change that I wanted the most is what, in my opinion, made the biggest difference. Whenever I make these videos with suggestions, there's really no way to know whether or not the things I'm saying will actually make a difference until you see it in practice. And for all we knew, this could have just been a complete disaster. And if it was, I would have felt like a moron because I pushed for it really hard, and so if it turned out really poorly, then I would have been disappointed. But thankfully that's not what happened, and so I'm really happy about it. As for those new moves, I've already talked about them a little bit, but I'll go over it step by step just to be safe. So for the wormhole uppercut, holy good God, thank Christ this move was changed. The old wormhole uppercut was completely worthless, and the new one is great. It's nothing standout awesome, it's still not a super good move, but if you compare it to the old one, it's like night and day. This move can actually get you damage, and if they block it, you don't just instantly die from a parry. The only gripe I have with this move is how much it costs. The wormhole uppercut is not worth 4 skill points. Not even close. Not even the new buffed up version. This is a 1 skill point, maybe 2 skill point move. Definitely not 4. So if there was anything I would change here, it's that. But honestly, this is such a minor gripe, I wouldn't even touch it. It's fine how it is. It looks really cool, and you can actually use it now. I'm okay with it, it's fine. As for the funny beatdown, this is where things get controversial, and I talked about it on my stream a lot today. Well, I guess technically it will be yesterday when this goes up, but basically, Tusk Act 4 did not and does not need a beatdown. This stand is plenty strong on its own, and we really do not need another Star Platinum the World scenario. The only reason Star Platinum the World's beatdown is at least a little bit tame is because the rest of the moveset is awful outside of the time stop. If Tusk Act 4's beatdown was powerful, or as powerful as Star Platinum the World's, it would be a shit show. Could you imagine trying to go up against a Tusk 4 that kept shooting you with nails from afar over and over and over again, and then you finally get close and you get hit with a beatdown and it deletes half your HP? Beatdowns doing tons of damage is not the play, and people that are asking for a buff to this move are, in my opinion, just completely wrong. Yes, the move does almost no damage, and you know what? That's okay, because for me, I feel like the point of the move is to just have a flashy move that goes on forever. If there were any buffs that were done to it, it would not be the damage, it would be the cooldown. And if they made the cooldown shorter, I'd be fine with that. But if they make the damage more, that's when we should start getting concerned. Giving a stand that already has a good moveset a grab that does half your health in one move is just... it's unbelievable that people can even comprehend that as being a good idea. As for the beatdown itself, well, I have a few gripes with it, and I think the biggest one is just how long it is. What is with Uzu and making beatdowns that last a century? I was loving the GE beatdown because it actually got to the point. And honestly, I was happy with the original beatdown that came out earlier in the day, and then they made the beatdown longer. Why? The beatdown is like 27 seconds long. That is too long for one move. It does look cool, but you should not be stuck in place for 27 seconds. This not only hurts you, the player, because you can't be doing anything else, meaning if you're playing in teams, your teammate is just by themselves, and considering that Tusk is a really massively good support stand, it just throws you in the dumpster since you're not doing anything. But it also means that since they had to match the damage with the longer beatdown, regen out-regens the beatdown. The problem with the beatdown right now is it does like 0.1 damage per hit because of how long it is, so people just heal it all back. The old beatdown did the same amount of damage, but since it was shorter, the hits did more damage, so people couldn't just regen all of it back. But honestly, like I said, Tusk doesn't need the beatdown to begin with, and because it doesn't need it, I really don't think that too many huge changes are in order. It honestly baffles me that they implemented the beatdown as balanced as it is. The dev team has a very large tendency to release things that are just blatantly overpowered. And seeing something that's released underpowered is such a breath of fresh air. This is how balance should be done. Releasing something weaker and then moving it up to be more in line with everything else, rather than just trying to set the status quo really high with some broken stand and then going, oh, maybe we should tone that back a little. Better safe than sorry. Throwing the meta completely out of whack with one thing just because it's been added and it's new is always a shit show. So I'm hoping that this type of balancing will take precedent in future because it will save a lot of headaches. The world over heaven. Other than that, I just want to address the update as a whole, and I just have to say that I'm really happy with the way that YBA is heading right now. I was never a fan and will never be a fan of the wait 3 months and then have a bunch of crap dropped on us all at once, and then that stuff just being forgotten about in like 2 weeks. Just small amounts of balance changes and stuff every week or 2 weeks or however long it is, not 3 months, is really, really good for the game, or at least for my personal enjoyment. Though just because I like it doesn't mean others don't. I'm sure there are people in the community that prefer the large content drop, but for me, this is awesome, and the way it probably should be done. All in all, I'm just happy about how YBA is doing right now, and I haven't been happy about how YBA's been doing for months. So basically what I'm trying to say is hats off to the dev team for this update and the previous update. Great job, and keep up the good work. I'll be staying tuned, and I'm really enjoying the game a lot more than I was previously. So have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.